Today we celebrate the Feast of the Holy Family. And a lot of times there is a lot of concern about families in this country right now. And I saw some interesting statistics. 2/3 of United States families do not eat their meals together. Of the third who do, 50% are watching TV while they're trying to eat. The average child over 8 watches 3.5 hours of TV daily, largely because parents are so tired from working that the TV becomes a good babysitter. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed on the world. When poet W.B. Yeats penned these particular lines, he might have been speaking of our contemporary family life. For now, the Feast of the Holy Family is not as old as one might think. Its origins are found only in the 17th century. In a church whose bloodline runs back 2,000 years, 3 or 4 centuries is not a very long time. And in the first 16 centuries of our church, solemn veneration of Mary, her husband, and her son was somewhat of a non-event, for there was little need to offer the Holy Family as a model for family life, which largely in a healthy condition. But then came the industrial age and the birth of cities. Serious problems appeared on the family horizon, and strategist that the church is, the church looked for about a counterforce. Cleverly, she hit upon the devotion to the Holy Family. Yet Mary, her husband, and her son had to wait until 1921 before today's official feast was created. Family life today is a most difficult pursuit. One thinks of divorce, the scourge of alcohol and narcotics, the breakdown of discipline, and all the rest of the unhappy lot that's around. And maybe we should pay better attention to Paul's letter to the Colossians. Apparently, word reached Paul that the Christian families there were having problems, almost in effect falling apart. And so he noted the qualities that must be in a Christian home. So I would ask you to sit back and allow Paul's words to seep into your spirit. Bear with one another. Forgive one another. Over all these, put on love. Christ's peace must reign in your hearts. Be thankful. Husbands and wives, cherish each other, love each other, respect each other. Children, obey your parents in everything. What a home it would be if one were to find all the qualities that Paul mentions. But why not? Why not allow it to be your home? Arthur Tone illustrates my point with a wonderful tale that he has in one of his books. George was becoming old and infirm. He had been a bachelor sailor most of his life, and one day his nephew Bill invited him to move in with his family, and George gladly accepted that, because he had never had a family. Now Bill, who had never traveled, did so by listening to the tales of his uncle's many journeys. George noticed that there were times that Bill seemed to get fed up with his family life. Arguments with his wife, all the bills, the kids' sickness, etc., etc., etc. And he told his uncle more than once, "I wish I was free to roam the world like you did." One evening over supper, the old sailor told the family of a map of buried treasure that he had in his possession. And Bill took that information and stored it away in his mind. A year after that, George died. The nephew looked through his few possessions for the map, and lo and behold, he found an envelope that was addressed to himself. It was the hoped-for map. And it took him but a moment to read it. And what surprised him the most was the map led him to the very house in which he stood. That dead sailor, that Uncle George, was telling him, your own home and your own family are your treasure. Enjoy them. Now, some of you may be saying, come on up out of the clouds now, Deacon, and get real. How can we relate to the Holy Family? Joseph was a celibate, Mary was a virgin, and Jesus was the Son of God. We do Mary, Joseph, and Jesus wrong if we fantasize their lives. Take the Christmas stable for openers. We picture it as something beauty. We have it on our homes. We see it in picture cards, etc. But be real about that. Indeed, stables are constructed for animals, but not humans. That Christmas stable may have been crawling with dangerous vermin and contained foul odors. There were no Pampers, no fresh water, no baby food. Imagine the drafts of cool air that came through that stable. Mary and Joseph had to be sick with worry about the infant's health. And where would the next meal come from? And consider, too, the teen years of Jesus. I have 3 grandchildren now that are into their teen years, one almost through it. And I have found out something interesting about teens. And it was something my folks always told me. You kids seem to think you know everything. Can you even speculate how difficult it might be if you were to raise one who did? We celebrate today not the feast of a perfect family, but the feast of a holy family. Think how they began. A poor young girl, a carpenter apprentice, got married and had to leave. Joseph found out his wife was pregnant, and he decided to stay with her. They had their child in a stable, not in a nice hospital or a clean home. They found out that someone was trying to kill their child. They moved numerous times. They probably did not settle in one place too long. And 30 years later, Mary watched her son die on a cross. That is a holy family, not a perfect family. Would you still find it difficult to relate to such a family?